And anybody else I can blame on that this morning? Anyway, we will get going. My lesson is kind of like last week's. It's not extremely long. Talking about Zechariah this week. So if you don't have a handout, we have them up here. We get you one and fill in the blanks that we have. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. We have a question up here. When do you find yourself when do you find yourself just going through the motions of faith and religion? When do you find yourself just going through the motions? You're just going through the motions. I mean, do you come to church because that's just what you do on Sundays? I mean, not all traditions are bad, and we should have a tradition of getting up, coming to church, and you should feel guilty if Sunday morning rolls around and you don't come to church, right?
Right.
Absolutely. I ain't in church. I'm probably going to hell or something. So, yeah. So, when do you find yourself just going through, here they are. Sorry. Just going through the motions. When do you find yourself just going through the motions and doing it because it's the motions? You come to church. Any time like that? Any of you ever feel that way? You know, I can start. I kind of think that happened with me when I was growing up, and I was always went to church, was baptized and all. I knew the stories. I knew the biblical stories. I knew books of the Old Testament, New Testament, the prophets. I knew all of that stuff, and the judges and whatever. I was a walking biblical scholar at 13 years old. And as time went on, I joined the Air Force. And with basic training, you got to understand, everybody goes to church at basic training just because you want to get away from in the Air Force, TIs, training instructors, and Army and Marine Corps drill instructors, drill sergeants. But, you know, because you go to chapel and church and they wouldn't mess with you there. So everybody went to church. It was after I got to tech school, first Sunday rolled around, and I woke up. I looked at my clock. I'd slept in for the first time in weeks and weeks and weeks. It was about 10 o'clock, and I thought to myself, I did not go to church today, and I am going straight to hell. Dry like a Jimmy Dean sausage, right? That was kind of the turning point to where my parents' faith started becoming my own. I hate to say that. I mean, I had the knowledge, but I often wondered, you know, was I going through the motions back the time behind me and growing up and all to where it became my faith at that time. So I started, you know, then started attending and all, and got my first duty station here at when I was here at Eglin, and went to church, off base, and married a preacher's daughter. So, yeah, man. So,
Then you went because you went to see the preacher's daughter.
I didn't know she knew that.
So yeah, met her the 14th of November, 1984. So I'm gonna marry that woman. Hadn't met her. But anyways, enough of us. Anybody else? Any times in your life where you felt like you were just going through the motions? You got that? Go ahead, brother. Oh, you're just agreeing. Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes when you're really tired, you're not really focused.
Yeah. I've often thought that. I had an elder tell me one time, he says, you know, I think that God gives a special grace to mothers with young children in church. Because, honest to goodness, if there's no nursery, there's nowhere to put them or whatever, and you're wrestling with them all through church, and usually it's the mothers, how do you get anything out of the service if you're wrestling a child? How about three?
Three bad ones, one good one.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have a whole sack full of them. And you go to church and you say, why do I go? David, you got something to say?
Yeah, of course I do. There's a good side and a bad side to going through the motions. The bad side is, yeah, we go through the motions on someone else's faith until we find our own. And I don't think that's a unique thing. That's everybody, whether it was an aunt or a neighbor or a mom and dad or whoever drags you to church. You go through those motions until hopefully one day you do that. But the other side of that, and there's a good side to going through the motions, is those days when you don't feel it, and you're just going through the motions to get there. And I find there are Sunday mornings that I'm just dragging myself through this Sunday morning to get there. And then I get there and wow, God's
So it's not necessarily a bad thing
Yeah.
on this. You're exactly right. Not all traditions are bad. Sometimes we do these things, we're going through the motions because we know that's where I need to be. And also, oftentimes, you know you're going to feel better once you go. I don't want to say you'll feel better once it's over. Once the preacher finally shuts up. But you feel better by going. Without a doubt, right? Amen. Back there in the back. Okay. So, Zechariah was a contemporary of Haggai, and thus the problems of apathy and indifference faced by Haggai were also faced by Zechariah. However, the concerns of Zechariah's ministry are much broader than those of Haggai. While Haggai's concern was mainly to encourage a rebuilding of the temple, Zechariah went further and addressed some of the other sins of the people. Just like many of the other prophets, he exhorted the people toward a faith that was demonstrating compassion and justice. He also assured the citizens of Judah that there would be brighter days if they lived faithfully and if they obeyed the Lord. So then, we have a reminder on repentance in Zechariah 1:1-6. First verse there says, Zechariah received his call 2 months after Haggai. In the 8th month of the 2nd year of Darius, the word of the Lord came to the prophet Zechariah, son of Berechiah, the son of Iddo. Zechariah urges the people to not be like their ancestors. Their ancestors ignored the words of the prophets and refused to repent. They therefore provoked the Lord's anger. Verses 2 and 4 of Zechariah 1. The Lord was very angry with your ancestors. Therefore tell the people, this is what the Lord Almighty says. Return to me, declares the Lord Almighty. And I will return to you. Do not be like your ancestors, whom the earlier prophets proclaimed. Turn from your evil ways, your evil practices, but they would not listen or pay attention to me, declares the Lord. Verses 5 and 6, where are your ancestors now? And the prophets, do they live forever? But did not my words, my decrees, which I commanded my servants, the prophets, overtaken your ancestors? Then they repented and said, the Lord Almighty has done to us what our ways and practices deserve, just as he determined to do. It was only after the Lord sent his chastisements on his people that they repented. The present generation, our present generation, should learn an important lesson from this. So, the visions of Zechariah. Zechariah sees a vision of heavenly horses. Zechariah sees a night vision of a man riding on a red horse, standing among myrtle trees, followed by horsemen on different colored horses. Chapter 1, 8-11. During the night I had a vision. There before me was a man mounted on a red horse. He was standing among the myrtle trees in a ravine. Behind him were red, brown, and white horses. I asked, what are these, my Lord? The angel who was talking with me answered, I will show you what they are. And the man standing among the myrtle trees explained, they are the ones the Lord has sent to go throughout the earth. And they reported to the angel of the Lord, who was standing among the myrtle trees, we have gone throughout the earth and found the whole world at peace, at rest, and in peace. So an angel explains that these men on horses are the ones the Lord has sent to patrol the whole earth. The report is that all the earth is at peace. In other words, time is ideal for the Jews to rebuild the temple. The whole world is at peace. The angel complains of the punishment which Jerusalem and Judah have had to endure for 70 years. Chapter 1 of Zechariah, 12 and 13. Then the angel of the Lord said, Lord Almighty, how long will you withhold mercy from Jerusalem, from the towns of Judah, which you've been angry with these 70 years. So the Lord spoke kind and comforting words to the angel who talked with me. Verses 16 and 17. Therefore, this is what the Lord says. I will return to Jerusalem with mercy, and there my house will be rebuilt. The measuring line will be stretched out over Jerusalem, declares the Lord Almighty. Proclaim further, this is what the Lord Almighty says. My towns will again overflow with prosperity. The Lord will again comfort Zion and choose Jerusalem. So then Zechariah sees a vision of a man with a measuring line. Chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. And I looked up, and there before me was a man with a measuring line in his hand. And I asked, where are you going? He answered me, to measure Jerusalem, to find out how wide and how long it is. While the angel who was speaking to me was leaving, another angel came to meet him and said to him, run, tell that young man, Jerusalem will be a city without walls because of the great number of people and animals in it. And I myself will be a wall of fire around it, declares the Lord, and I will be its glory within. The angel announces that Jerusalem does not need a wall because the Lord himself will be a wall of fire around the city. Then God calls on the Jews still in Babylon to return to Jerusalem, for he will overthrow those nations that plundered them. God said, all right, come on back home. Come on back home. Chapter 2, Zechariah 6 through 9. Come, flee from the land of the north, declares the Lord, for I have scattered you to the four winds of heaven, declares the Lord. Come, Zion, escape, you who live in daughter Babylon. For this is what the Lord Almighty says, after the glorious one has sent me against the nations that have plundered you. For whoever touches you touches the apple of his eye. I will surely raise my hand against them so that their slaves will plunder them. Then you will know that the Lord Almighty has sent me. So the Lord's going to dwell in the midst of Zion, and many nations are going to be converted to the Lord and become his people. Verses 10 through 13. Shout and be glad, daughter Zion, for I am coming, I will live among you, declares the Lord. Many nations will be joined with the Lord on that day and will become my people. I will live among you, and you will know that the Lord Almighty has sent me to you. The Lord will inherit Judah as his portion in the Holy Land and will again choose Jerusalem. Be still before the Lord, all mankind, because he has roused himself from his holy dwelling. So then Zechariah sees a vision then of a lampstand and two olive trees. Zechariah sees a golden lampstand with an olive tree on either side of it. Chapter 4, verses 1 and 3. Then the angel who talked with me returned and woke me up. Like someone awakened from sleep, he asked me, what do you see? I answered, I see a solid gold lampstand with a bowl at the top, 7 lamps on it, with 7 channels to the lamps. Also, there are 2 olive trees by it, one on the right of the bowl and the other on its left. Lampstand here probably symbolizes the presence of God on the earth, while the 2 olive trees represent Zerubbabel and Joshua, who worked together to complete the fulfillment of God's will. Verse 12 through 14 of Zechariah 4 says, again I asked him, what are these 2 olive branches beside the 2 gold pipes and this golden oil? And he replied, do you not know what they are? No, my Lord, I said. So he said, these are the 2 who are anointed to serve the Lord of all the earth. The angel goes on to describe the role of Zerubbabel in building the temple. Chapter 4, verse 6. So he said to me, this is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord Almighty. So God reminds Zerubbabel here that his work of rebuilding the temple is going to succeed, not because of Zerubbabel's might, but because of God's empowering spirit. It's going to succeed because of God. Everything succeeds when God's in control of it. Verses 8 through 9 of Zechariah 4. And the word of the Lord came to me. The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this temple. His hands will also complete it. Then you will know that the Lord Almighty has sent me to you. The angel goes on to state, perhaps for the priest Joshua's benefit, that since Zerubbabel laid the foundation of the temple, that he would be the one to complete it. So then we see about the branch and the crown in Zechariah 6. In this section, the Lord seems to be directing Zechariah to unite the competing factions in the Jewish community so they can finish rebuilding the temple. Lord instructs the prophet, take silver and gold from the exiles who just arrived from Jerusalem, make a crown for Joshua the high priest. Verses 9 through 11. The word of the Lord came to me. Take silver and gold from the exiles, Heldiah, Tobijah, Jedediah, who have arrived from Babylon. Go the same day to the house of Josiah, son of Zephaniah. Take the silver and the gold and make a crown and set it on the head of the high priest, Joshua, son of Jozadak. Zechariah then goes on to define the distinct roles of Zerubbabel and Joshua. Chapter 6, 12 through 13. Tell him, this is what the Lord Almighty says. Here is the man whose name is the branch. He will branch out from his place and build a temple of the Lord. It is he who will build a temple of the Lord. He will be clothed with majesty and will sit and rule on his throne. He will be a priest on his throne, and there will be harmony between the two. So Zechariah is to tell Joshua that it is Zerubbabel, the branch, who will build the temple and be the political leader. Joshua will be a priest who will rule with Zerubbabel. There will be peace and there will be harmony between the two of them. Probably presupposes that there's been friction between these two leaders prior to the appearance of Haggai and Zechariah, which may have been one factor in the delay of the building of the temple. There was some little animosity possibly going on between these two and probably slowed down the rebuilding of the temple. The Lord promises that other Jews will come and help rebuild the temple. Chapter 6, verse 15. Those who are far away will come and help to build the temple of the Lord. You will know that the Lord Almighty has sent me to you. This will happen if you diligently obey the Lord your God. The arrival of help to finish the building will confirm that Zechariah is a true prophet from the Lord. So then we look at true religion. So, here's the next. On November 4th, 518 BC, or possibly December 7th of that year, it's kind of interesting because, as we have been studying these prophets, and we've had discussions on what years were these things taking place. And there's been some discussion, and David even brought us this, which is a lot of busyness on times and dates and all. And some of them, as time goes, we get secular history that will find something and say, oh, this ruler ruled from this time, this time. It helps us to place when these prophets actually existed. If it says this prophet existed during the reign of so-and-so, okay, well that knocks it down. This guy reigned for 40 years, so sometime in that time frame. There's still some guesswork on those, but like I said, through secular history, a lot of times, as new discoveries are made, historical things, archaeologists and all, they find plates or tablets that say something, and then it helps biblical scholars to start pinpointing times, dates, places a lot easier. In this particular instance here, it says in chapter 7, 1 and 3, in the 4th year of King Darius, the word of the Lord came to Zechariah on the 4th day of the 9th month, the month of Kislev. Well, that kind of narrows it down. And if you study this and research it and all, there's some disagreement on when the months actually happen, but it's a disagreement that takes it from being within 100 years down to within about a month or so. You follow what I'm saying here? So if you look at different sources, some say November 4th, 518, and then another one said, well, December 7th. And I quit digging further than that because as I was reading and studying, it really didn't make a difference to our lesson today. I just thought this was interesting. But you might find some other dates. But it does narrow it down a whole lot more than what some of these other prophets we've studied. Okay? Y'all get that? Agree with me? Okay.
Amen.
Thank you. So continuing on with chapter 7, verses 1 and 3, it says, the people of Bethel had sent Sharezer and Regan Melech together with their men to entreat the Lord by asking the priests of the house of the Lord Almighty and prophets. Should I mourn and fast in the 5th month as I've done for so many years? Uh-oh, now wait. All right, I want you to hold on to this. Now, some of this stuff in these visions was getting a little boring. Just read these visions and all the horses, all these visions. Sometimes that's a little boring. It's about to get interesting here. Chapter 7, verses 1 and 3, last part of that, Zechariah 7. Should I mourn and fast in the 5th month, as I've done for so many years? The men of Bethel here asked the priests if they should still mourn and fast the month of Jewish calendar. Good Jewish folks nowadays still mourn and fast, have at different times. They'd been fasting during this period throughout the 70 years the temple was in ruins. This was something they had grown accustomed to doing. Now that the temple is being rebuilt, they wonder, was it necessary to continue fasting? Right? Good question, isn't it? Because they were fasting and mourning because the temple was in ruins. For 70 years they've done this. So they're coming and saying, hey, do we need to still do this? Because, it's like being rebuilt. I mean, I could really eat a hamburger today, and I know we're fasting. And all this mourning, I don't like that. The sackcloth and the ashes, it gets in my beard. So the next slide here, the Lord replies that though they fasted, it had become a mere external rite without meaning. Uh-oh, about to step on some toes here. Chapter 7 of Zechariah, 5 through 7. Ask all the people of the land and the priest. When you fasted and mourned in the 5th and 7th month for the past several years, was it really for me that you fasted? And when you were eating and drinking, were you not just feasting for yourselves? Are these not the words of the Lord? Or are these not the words the Lord proclaimed through the earlier prophets when Jerusalem and its surrounding towns were at rest and prosperous? And then the Negev and the western foothills were settled? The Lord's pretty much announcing that even when they fasted, they were not genuinely committed to Him, for they were doing it out of their own self-interest, because they wanted to feel religious. They won't feel religious. Do you know what it's like to feel religious? You probably do, and you won't admit it.
As a kid, you certainly did, because your parents said, always answered the question, why do I have to go to church?
To feel religious.
That's not usually what you say.
Mine was because I said so.
No, mine was you don't have to go to church, you get to go to church.
That is true. So, and I can understand this, especially coming from some of my friends in what we call high church. High church. Meaning more of maybe our Episcopalian friends, maybe Lutheran, Missouri Synod friends, Catholic friends, because they might have incense, and they might do certain prayers, and they might do the Apostles' Creed or the Nicene Creed, religious, what we call religious things. And they feel, I think, more of it, and this is Gary's opinion, okay? I think they feel more religious when those things are happening. You follow what I'm saying? At least, might not agree with me, but at least follow me. And maybe we have some of that too. As a preacher, you see sometimes when people, within our fellowship, within the Churches of Christ, what's the most religious thing we do? Well, a lot of you are going to say the Lord's Supper, right? Y'all know it. But sometimes we got to get the Lord's Supper guy going because the preacher's got something to say. That's what you, Bernard. Excellent job today. So glad to see you back.
Amen.
You too, Joanne.
Oh, I just hear Bernard all the time.
Get Joanne spun up. Anyhow, and a lot of us look at it that way. Well, I have seen as preacher, people come to church, and a lot of us do things kind of the same. Some songs, and we have the Lord's Supper and offering, and the preacher, and some prayers in there. And you can see, sometimes people take the Lord's Supper, then they leave. Because now they feel religious. Gary's opinion. They feel religious. I got my cracker and I got my grape juice. I am good to go now.
That mentality started our movement back in the 1700s.
You should have it at the end of service, and that way they'd have to stay for your sermon.
Hey, that's the way it was growing up.
So I had a preacher friend of mine one time that there were several folks who had gotten into a regular habit of doing that. So he one time got up and went to the Lord's table there in front, not at the pulpit, and he actually basically started preaching a sermon right then. All these people, and he could tell they were ready to go. He just needs to hurry up and go ahead and have their Lord's Supper, get their cracker, get their Welch's, and get out of here. But he was preaching his whole sermon right there. I thought it was great. But nevertheless, the Lord's Supper can oftentimes within our fellowship make us feel religious. And there's more to it. I'm not against feelings. But in this case, and looking at it like this is what the Lord is telling them. Look, you're just trying to feel religious. You fasted and mourning. You're just trying to feel religious. So,
Hey, Gary, one of the things I appreciated about the COVID forcing us to stay home was I did the Lord's Supper at home, it seemed like it broke the ritualisticness of it, in that, you had to make your bread, and you had to look for grape juice. We didn't have any, so maybe there's some wine there you could use, make it more realistic. So it was just more realistic because you had to get the stuff together yourself. You had to grind the flour, and make the...
Grind the flour. I hate having to grind flour. Get out there with your grapes, walk on them with bare feet. Okay. Thanks, Clay. So let's Zechariah goes on to announce what the Lord really desires. 9 and 10, what the Lord said: administer true justice, show mercy, compassion one another. Do not oppress the widow, the fatherless, foreigner, the poor. Do not plot evil against each other. God is desiring his people to be just in dealing with each other. They show kindness and mercy. They look out for the widow and the orphan and give up their evil ways. In Zechariah 8, a brighter future for them. The book of Zechariah concludes with several announcements that brighter days are coming. People will live faithfully. The Lord will return and dwell in Jerusalem. The Jews will be his people there. Verses 7 and 8 of chapter 8. This is what the Lord Almighty says: I'll save my people from the countries of the east and the west. I'll bring them back to live in Jerusalem. They'll be my people. I'll be faithful and righteous to them as their God. The Lord will restore a great king over Zion. Wait, stop. All right. Put it in another gear here now. Think about Christmas time. The Lord will restore a great king over Zion who will inaugurate an era of peace. Zechariah 9, verse 9. Listen to this verse here. Rejoice greatly, daughter Zion. Shout, daughter Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. What's he talking about here? Chapter 9, 10 and 12. I will take away the chariots from Ephraim and the war horses from Jerusalem, and the battle bow will be broken. He'll proclaim peace to the nations. His rule will extend from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. As for you, because of the blood of my covenant with you, I will free your prisoners from the waterless pit. Return to your fortress, you prisoners of hope. Even now I announce that I will restore twice as much to you. So, Jerusalem's enemies are going to be destroyed. Chapter 12, 2 through 5, I'm going to make Jerusalem a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reeling. Judah will be besieged as well as Jerusalem. On that day, when all the nations of the earth are gathered against her, I'll make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations. All who try to move it will injure themselves. On that day, I'll strike every horse with panic, its rider with madness, declares the Lord. I'll keep a watchful eye over Judah, but I will blind all the horses of the nations. Then the clans of Judah will say in their hearts, the people of Jerusalem are strong, because the Lord Almighty is their God. And in verses 6 there, on the day I'll make the clans of Judah like a firepot and wood pile, like a flaming torch among sheaves. They will consume all the surrounding peoples right and left, but Jerusalem will remain intact in the place. Verse 9, on that day I'll set out to destroy all the nations that attack Jerusalem. That's all I have for Zechariah. I like how it came back there, though, to where it's the prophecy of the coming king, the coming Christ there, which we usually look at these verses around Christmas time and all of the prophecy of Christ. Anyway, next slide. Any questions? You got one job, David. Any questions or any thoughts on this? Next week is our last week for the minor prophets. No thoughts? All of you are thoughtless.
How goes the boat hunt?
The boat hunt,
You brought it up.
I didn't bring up the boat.
You put the slide up.
Well, it was already up there. I can't find a boat. Every time I call about one, it is sold. So, but the blessing of this is I'm not paying any insurance. And it's giving me time to work on my dock and repair it. So, the boat will one day be coming. Rhonda desires a boat so bad. And I'll do anything for that woman. And I'm probably lying. But, we'll get a boat eventually. I was hoping to get one before the end of this month, but who knows. So if y'all see about a 20, 22-foot bow rider that's in great shape, under 200 hours. Say again? Not a new one, but no more than, what did we say, 400,000. Way older than that. Okay, but that's all I got, guys. Hold on, a couple of thoughts.
I think the proper response is thank you, God, for talking to me. Clearly sharing your message. That's the proper response.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, that's it. Other than Christ, I don't remember Jerusalem being victorious over the surrounding enemy nations. Is that?
Seems like they were always beat up, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, when after the temple was rebuilt,
Yeah.
they really weren't the powerhouse in that area that they had been under David and Solomon. Is that right?
That's the way I would see it, yes. I would agree with that.
So these are really all foretelling prophecies about what will come to pass in the first century.
I think you're right. Okay, well, thanks for your attention today. We will see you next week, and I would say I'll give you some time back since I went long today, but I'd be lying.